Dear students, today let us see the new chapter Atoms. We all know the universe or the space surrounding us is made up of one or other kind of the matter, and the matter is made up of atoms. So Dalton was the first to postulate that matter is made up of atoms which are invisible. Next, J.J. Thomson revealed that atoms of different element contain negatively charged particles called electrons. So one by one, the scientists are explaining us about the structure of the atom. So first Dalton just he said that matter is made up of atom. Next J.J. Thomson studied the structure of atom and he revealed the fact that atoms are made up of negatively charged particle and he named those particles as electrons. Next, but the atom on a whole is electrically neutral. If we consider an atom as a whole, it is electrically neutral. But J.J. Thomson says that atom it contains the negatively charged particle called as electron. Therefore, an atom must also contain some positive charge to neutralize the negative charge of the electron. So, first atom model was proposed by J.J. Thomson. According to this model, positive charge of atom is uniformly distributed throughout the volume of atom like pudding. The negatively charged electrons are embedded in it like plums in the pudding. This atomic model is sometimes called plum pudding model. First, J.J. Thomson proposed the atomic model. According to his model, his theory is said that the positive charge of atom is uniformly distributed throughout the volume of atom like pudding, and negatively charged electrons are embedded on it like plums. So to understand this clearly, let us compare this plum pudding model to the watermelon. When we cut a watermelon, we observe that there is a red part that has uniformly distributed throughout the fruit, and the black seeds those are embedded in the red part. So here red part is compared to positive charge that has uniformly distributed throughout the atom, and the black seeds we can compare those black seeds to electrons which are embedded in the red part. Here electrons are embedded in the positive charge. So this is how he explained the structure of atom. Next, he said about the electrons and the positive charges uniformly distributed. But next came a scientist called Rutherford. Rutherford explained the atomic model in different way. So he suggested his students called H. Giger and E. Marsden to perform an experiment, and that experiment is alpha particle scattering experiment to know the structure of atom. So let us know what is alpha particle scattering experiment. In 1911, H. Giger and E. Marsden performed the alpha particle scattering experiment on the suggestion of E. Rutherford. And the experimental setup is like this. The experimental setup consists of a lead cavity box and a source of radioactive source, lead slits and gold foil, zinc sulfide screen, detector and the microscope. So here this radioactive source bismuth is kept, he has kept the radioactive source in the lead cavity box, and as it is a radioactive source, it emits the alpha particles. Of course, those alpha particles will emit in the different direction. They will be scattered in different direction. So he collimated those alpha particles into a narrow beam with the help of lead slit. He used lead slit. Those both the students they used the lead slit to collimate the alpha particle into a narrow beam, and they allowed that narrow beam to fall on the gold ball, which is very thin, and its thickness is about 2.1 into 10 raised to minus 7 meter. Whatever the alpha particles are scattering, those alpha particles energy is about 5.5 mega electron volt, and this narrow beam of alpha particles are allowed to fall on the gold foil, which is very thin. The alpha particles scattered in different directions are absorbed through a rotatable detector consisting of zinc sulfide screen and a microscope. The alpha particle produce bright flashes on the zinc sulfide screen. Though as soon as the alpha particles they fall on the zinc sulfide screen, flashes will be absorbed on the zinc sulfide screen, and the detector is used which is rotatable. we can rotate this detector at different angle. So we can count the number of flashes made by the alpha particle with the help of microscope, which has kept or fixed in the detector. Detector consists of a microscope, so we can count here the number of flashes made by the alpha particle. The flashes are observed in the microscope and counted at different angle from the direction of the incident beam. From the direction of incident beam, different angles are made by the alpha particles, and the detector is also used to count the number of flashes at different angle because it is rotatable. We can rotate this detector throughout this zinc sulfide screen. This dotted curved line indicates the zinc sulfide screen, and here it is a detector consisting of a microscope. With the help of microscope, we can count the number of flashes. The angle of deviation of alpha particle from its initial direction is called scattering angle. So here theta is the scattering angle. It is from the angle of deviation of alpha particle from its initial direction. So after this experiment, he got two values, that is number of alpha particles scattered and the scattering angle. The students plotted the graph of number of alpha particles scattered versus scattering angle. The graph obtained by plotting the number of alpha particles scattered in a given time as a function of scattering angle is shown in the figure. So graph is like this: number of alpha particles scattered versus scattering angle. Dots in the figure represents the data points in that actual experiment. After the experiment, they got the data, and here dots in the figure represents the actual data of the experiment. It is observed from the graph that many of alpha particles pass a straight line through the gold foil. That means they do not suffer any collision with gold atoms. Many of the alpha particles pass straight line through the gold foil. That means they do not suffer any collision with gold atom. Here, if we plot the graph like this: 10 raised to 1, 10 raised to 2, 10 raised to 3, 10 raised to 6, 7, 8. The first dot indicates that most of the alpha particles scattered have a least scattering angle. Means they have traveled along a straight line. Through this setup, we can understand that most of the alpha particles traveled along a straight line. So they have a least scattering angle. Most of the means 10 raised to 7, about 10 raised to 7 alpha particles scattered along a straight line. Only about 0.14% of the incident alpha particle are scattered by more than 1 degree. More than 1 degree alpha particles are about only 0.1% of the incident alpha particle. More than 1 degree is also a least angle here. And about 1 in 8,000 of incident alpha particle is deflected by more than 90 degree. Among 8,000 alpha particle, only 1 alpha particle has deflected by more than 90 degree. More than 90 degree here means if it is 1 degree, 2 degree, let us consider this as a 20, 30, 90 degree will be here, and more than 90, only 1 alpha particle will scatter. By these observations, Rutherford argued that to deflect alpha particle backward by more than 90 degree, it must experience large repulsive force. This force could be provided if greater part of mass of atom and its positive charge were concentrated at its center in the nucleus. So according to Rutherford argument is like this: most of the mass or the positive charge of the atom is concentrated, that should be concentrated at the center, and most of the volume of the atom or the most of the space of the atom is empty according to Rutherford. By this experiment, by that graph, he concluded like this. So Rutherford's atom model is like this. The features are like this: atom has a small positively charged nucleus. All the positive charge of atom and most of the mass of the atom are concentrated in the nucleus. Atom has a small positively charged nucleus. All the positive charge of atom and most of the mass of the atom are concentrated in the nucleus. He called that center part means the concentrated part of the positive charge, he called that as a nucleus. So now the concept of nucleus has arrived. Yet we didn't know about the nucleus. We just know that positive charge is distributed and negative charges are embedded by J.J. Thomson model. Rutherford clearly told us about the nucleus. The dimension of nucleus are negligibly small as compared to overall size of the atom, so that most of the volume occupied by an atom is actually an empty space. As mass is concentrated in the nucleus, but the size of nucleus is very small compared to size of the atom. Size of the atom and size of the nucleus, they have a large difference. Nucleus is very small and the atom is big compared to nucleus. So the volume occupied by the atom is, most of the volume occupied by the atom is empty. Atomic nucleus is surrounded by certain number of electrons. As atom is electrically neutral, the total negative charge on electrons surrounding the nucleus is equal to positive charge on the nucleus. If we consider a whole atom, it is electrically neutral. As the center part nucleus is positively charged and the electrons are revolving around the nucleus, so that both positive and the negative charges will balance, so that the charge of atomic nucleus, so charge of whole atom will be neutral. The electron in the atom revolve around the nucleus in various circular orbit. Centripetal force required for revolution of electron is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between the electron and the nucleus. As we know, electrons are negatively charged particles and nucleus is positively charged center part. There must be some attraction between electron and the nucleus. But as per the Rutherford model structure of the atom, electrons are revolving around the orbits around the nucleus. So why there is no attraction? That force of attraction is there, but it is now acting as a centripetal force. So electrons are revolving around the nucleus. The force of attraction between the electron, negatively charged electron and positively charged nucleus is now acting as a centripetal force. So Rutherford's experiment suggested that size of the nucleus is about 10 raised to minus 15 meter. Size of the nucleus is 10 raised to minus 15 meter to 10 raised to minus 14 meter, and size of the atom is about 10 raised to minus 10 meter. So as we compare here, size of the atom is larger compared to size of the nucleus. So most of the part of atom is completely empty. Most of an atom is completely empty space in which electron revolve around the nucleus. With atom being completely empty, most of the alpha particle pass through the thin gold foil. However, when alpha particle come near to a nucleus, the intense electric field, they scatter it through a large angle. By this experiment, he concluded that gold foil, he took a gold foil and the alpha particle, whenever they come near the gold foil, as most part of the atom is completely empty, that's why most of the alpha particle directly went along a straight line, and only few alpha particle, those near to the nucleus of the gold, they only scattered with a large angle. So to understand this, next concept is alpha particle trajectory. Alpha particle trajectory is like this. With the help of this diagram, we can understand that alpha particle is a helium nucleus. Alpha particle is nothing but it is a helium nucleus with a charge plus 2e. When an alpha particle is at a distance r from the nucleus of charge Ze, the electrostatic repulsion due to the nucleus is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Force F is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into 2e divided by r square. Alpha particle is nothing but a helium nucleus, it is, with the charge of 2 electron. When an alpha particle is at a distance r from the nucleus of charge Ze, the electrostatic repulsion is by this, we can Give the repulsion force by this equation, that is F is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught ZE 2E by R square, that is force of attraction or the Coulomb's force between the two charged bodies. Now consider the alpha particle 1 having initial kinetic energy K is equals to half mv square at large distance from the nucleus, moving directly towards the nucleus. As the alpha particle approaches the nucleus, its kinetic energy decreases and potential energy increases. Because here alpha particle is also positively charged nucleus, and the nucleus which whatever we have considered, that is also positively charged. So the first one alpha particle, as that approaches the nucleus, its kinetic energy decreases and potential energy increases. This one, the first one is for first alpha particle, that is moving with the kinetic energy K is equals to half mv square. As soon as that approaches the nucleus, its kinetic energy decreases and potential energy increases. As the alpha particle approaches the nucleus, its kinetic energy decreases, potential energy increases. When alpha particle is at a particular distance d from the nucleus, its kinetic energy becomes 0. That distance is called distance of closest approach. At some distance d, the alpha particle's kinetic energy will be completely 0 at some distance d near to nucleus. That distance is called as distance of closest approach. At this distance, initial kinetic energy of alpha particle is completely converted into potential energy. Afterwards, because of repulsion, alpha particle retraces its path. In other words, it is scattered by 180 degree. At this distance, initial kinetic energy of the alpha particle converted into potential energy. Afterwards, because of the repulsion, alpha particle retraces its path. In other words, it is scattered by 180 degree. Here alpha particle is a positively charged particle of 2e charge. Nucleus we have considered as a plus ZE charge. Both are positive in the nature. So here at some distance d, alpha particle that approaches nucleus, and the kinetic energy will be completely 0, and that initial kinetic energy is converted into potential energy. Afterward, that alpha particle will retrace its path in the backward direction, or that scattered by 180 degree. The potential energy of alpha particle at a distance d from the nucleus is U is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught ZE by into 2E divided by d. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 ZEQ by d. Since loss in the kinetic energy is equals to gain in the potential energy, so kinetic energy is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 ZEQ by d. So d is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 ZEQ by k, which is the expression for distance of closest approach. D, that is denoted by capital D. Next is impact parameter. It is the perpendicular distance from the center of nucleus to its initial direction of the alpha particle when it is at infinite distance from the nucleus. It is the perpendicular distance from the center of nucleus to initial direction of the alpha particle when it is at infinite distance from the nucleus. Here, this distance is called as impact parameter. It is the perpendicular distance of the nucleus from its initial direction if the alpha particle is at infinite distance. Consider alpha particle 2 approaching the nucleus with a small impact parameter b. Because of electrostatic repulsion, alpha particle scattered through a large angle more than 90 degree. Consider the alpha particle 3 approaching the nucleus with larger impact parameter. It is scattered through smaller angle. Here alpha particle 2 and alpha particle 3. Alpha particle 2, the angle will be more than 90 degree due to the small impact parameter, and alpha particle 3 that has scattered with the angle less than 90 degree due to the large impact parameter. Here perpendicular distance is increasing. As the impact parameter is increasing, the angle is decreasing. So the third particle that approaches the nucleus with larger impact parameter, it scatters through small angle. As the impact parameter increases, scattering angle decreases. Impact parameter decreases, scattering angle increases. This is about the Rutherford experiment and distance of closest approach and impact parameter. Next one is electron orbit. In Rutherford's nuclear model of the atom, the picture of atom is an electrically neutral sphere consisting of very small, massive and positively charged nucleus at the center, surrounded by electrons revolving in their respective dynamically stable orbit. According to Rutherford's nuclear model, that atomic model is also called as nuclear model because he proposed the concept of nucleus. So according to his model, atom is considered as a sphere that looks like a sphere, where center part of the sphere is nucleus, that is positively charged. The negatively charged electrons are revolving around the nucleus. The centripetal force Fc required to keep the electron in their stable orbit is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction Fe between the revolving electron and the nucleus. As we discussed there, nucleus is positively charged, electrons are negatively charged. There must be some attraction between the electrons and the nucleus. But according to the atomic model, electrons are continuously revolving around the nucleus in a stable orbit. This is because of that attractive force between the electrons and the nucleus that act as a centripetal force. So electrons are revolving in a stable orbit. If an electron of mass m and charge e is revolving around the nucleus with speed v in a stable circular orbit of radius r in a hydrogen atom, if we consider a hydrogen atom, electron of mass small m and a charge e is revolving around the nucleus with speed v in a stable orbit, then the centripetal force provided is given by Fc is equals to mv square by r, and the electrostatic force between the electron and the nucleus will be given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E by r square, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r square. Since the centripetal force is nothing but electrostatic force, because that electrostatic force of attraction is acting as a centripetal force, that is providing the electrostatic force is providing the centripetal force to the electron. So Fc is equals to Fe, and we have mv square by r. Fc is equals to mv square by r, and Fe is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r square. We can equate both of them, that is mv square by r is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r square. Then here r and r get cancels, so r is equals to E square by 4 pi epsilon naught mv square. The kinetic energy of the electron is half mv square. Kinetic energy is equals to 1 by 2 mv square, 1 by 2, and by this the value of mv square will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r, because 1 r and r get cancels. Value of mv square is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r. So substitute here mv square, the value of mv square 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E square by r is equals to E square by 8 pi epsilon naught r. The potential energy of the electron is given by again the electrostatic force 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E minus E by r, which is equals to minus E square by 4 pi epsilon naught r. So the total energy of the electron is kinetic energy plus potential energy. Kinetic energy is E square by 8 pi epsilon naught r minus potential energy is E square by 4 pi epsilon naught r. Potential energy is negative here. So total energy of the electron will be minus E square by 8 pi epsilon naught r. Total energy of nucleus is negative. This implies that electron is bound to the nucleus and it will move in a closed stable orbit. When we consider energy of an object or energy of a particle as a negative when it moves in a closed orbit. Thus, this indicates that energy of the nucleus total energy of the nucleus is negative. This implies electron is bound to the nucleus and it will move in a closed stable orbit. So this is about the electron orbit.